This is the revision video for Unit B2, Carbon and Nitrogen Cycles. Elements pass between living things such as plants and animals, and the non-living world such as air, water, soil and rocks. This happens in a constant cycle. As living things grow, they take in elements, including carbon and nitrogen, to use in their bodies. When they die, these elements are released back into the cycle to be used again. Carbon is one of the most important common elements in all living things. All major molecules, including carbohydrates, proteins, fats and DNA, contain carbon. The process of carbon moving between the living and non-living world is called the carbon cycle. Carbon is present in the atmosphere as carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is absorbed by plants and built into sugar molecules during photosynthesis. Plants then use some of that sugar to make other molecules, such as cellulose, fat and protein. The carbon is now part of the plant. Plants are then eaten by animals, and so these carbon compounds pass on to the animals and become part of their bodies. Both the plants and the animals respire, using up some of the sugar for energy and returning some of the carbon to the atmosphere as carbon dioxide. The rest of the carbon stays within these living things until they die. When plants and animals die, bacteria and fungi, known as decomposers, digest their bodies in the process known as decay. And as they do this, carbon dioxide is released back into the atmosphere through respiration. But not all animals and plants decay. Some are buried and begin to fossilise over millions of years, producing fossil fuels such as coal, oil and gas. When these fossil fuels are burnt, it releases carbon dioxide from carbon that was stored millions of years ago. Microbes are an important part of nutrient cycles. They are involved in the decay of dead plants and animal waste. The two main groups of microbes involved are bacteria and fungi. The process of decay releases nutrients such as carbon back into the environment so that these nutrients can then be reused by plants to grow. The process of decay keeps the carbon cycle going. Decay happens more at certain times of year, especially during autumn. This is when the microbes have the right conditions to survive and respire. They have plenty of food from the fallen leaves, the temperature is suitable, and there is plenty of moisture. Not all carbon that ends up in a food chain finds its way back into the atmosphere quickly. Some carbon that is built into the body of plants and animals may stay there for millions of years. In the oceans there are lots of invertebrate animals with shells to protect them. These shells are made of compounds such as calcium carbonate. These animals have incorporated carbon from their diet into their shells. When they die, the shells are difficult to decay and they sink to the bottom of the ocean. Fragments become compressed together to form rocks such as limestone and chalk. Because they store carbon in this way, the oceans are called carbon sinks. We need to be aware of how human activity impacts the carbon cycle. All the fossil fuels we are burning are releasing carbon that has been locked away for millions of years. Deforestation also has a big impact because trees take in carbon dioxide and store that carbon for a long time. The consequences of burning fossil fuels and deforestation can be seen in the rising carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. The cycle is no longer in balance. More carbon dioxide is being released into the atmosphere than is being taken out of it. In a stable environment, the amount of carbon dioxide released should be approximately the same amount that is being absorbed. As well as carbon, another element that is cycled between the living and non-living world is nitrogen. Nitrogen makes up 78% of the air in our atmosphere. Nitrogen is very important to living things. It is an important component of proteins and DNA. Nitrogen is a very unreactive gas, and so organisms cannot make use of it as an element, but they can use nitrogen in compounds such as nitrates. Nitrogen moves between the living and non-living world in the nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen exists as nitrates that are dissolved in the water in soil. These nitrates are absorbed by plants through their roots, and they are used to build compounds such as proteins in the plant. These nitrogen compounds pass through food chains to animals, and eventually the nitrogen compounds in dead plants and animals are broken back down into nitrates, where they can be absorbed by plants and used once again. But this is a very simplified version of the nitrogen cycle. In reality, it is much more complicated because of all the microbes that play a part in this cycle. I already mentioned that when plants and animals die, the nitrogen compounds are broken back down into nitrates, and then plants can use them again. There are several stages involved in this process. First of all, decomposers break down dead plants and animals and animal waste, turning the nitrogen compounds into ammonia in the soil. Nitrifying bacteria in the soil then convert this ammonia into nitrates to complete the cycle. But this is not the end of the story. There are also denitrifying bacteria in the soil that break down the nitrates and release nitrogen into the air. That nitrogen can become nitrates again though. Some plants, known as legumes, have nitrogen-fixing bacteria in their roots that combine nitrogen and oxygen from the air to make nitrates that the plant can use. These legumes include plants such as peas and beans.